Hello, welcome to our first interview with our MDC studio partners. So today, I would like to introduce Dr. Jonathan Pearl. He's the general surgeon at University of Maryland Medical Systems. He's also the chief of general surgery at Baltimore VA Medical Center. He's a veteran of the US Navy, a partner at the MDC studio, and a founder of Surgical Vision Systems. And most recently, he's the managing director of the MDC-Verte Impact Fund. So hi, Dr. Pearl. So to start with, please tell us about yourself and about all the different hats that you wear.
Yeah, I grew up in Michigan, did my undergrad work there, medical school in Detroit. I then did my residency in general surgery in the United States Navy. Did a couple of tours after my residency in the Middle East. Did one tour on the ship, then one tour in Kuwait, one tour in Iraq. I did 13 total years in the Navy. After that, I joined the faculty at the University of Maryland. I've been here since 2012. That's 9 years now. Spent some time at the VA, spent time at the University Hospital and Midtown Hospital. I do general surgery, fix hernias and gallbladders, and other somewhat more complicated stuff at times. I got involved with MDC starting in around 2015. I had an idea that I've been thinking about for many years while I was in the Navy for a thermal laparoscope to facilitate imaging in the operating room. And I took that to Gil Blankenship. We were able to write a MII grant and got that funded.
Oh,
that project didn't really go anywhere. However, it started MDC and brought a lot of us together, and we were able to develop it into its current state and beyond.
Wonderful. I love the story of the beginnings of MDC Studio. So did you consider other ways to try to develop this prototype, or did it just come out of talking to Gil?
I had no idea what to do. That's why I went to him, and that's kind of one of the benefits and the beauties of MDC is it starts with clinicians with an idea. But we don't know what to do with that idea except disclose it to the Office of Technology Transfer, and then perhaps it will linger. Perhaps they'll help us develop it. Perhaps we'll get a grant, but oftentimes it will languish after that. And that's where MDC really comes in, is we can take an idea from its earliest stages, and the goal is to create a company out of that.
Yeah. So how have things been since joining or creating MDC Studio a few years ago? I know you've had some exciting traction recently with surgical vision. You recently got a DHA SBIR grant, and I'd like to also hear about the Henry Jackson Foundation initiative.
Yeah, it was a slow go for many years, for me at least. There's some disappointments early on, which is very common for startup businesses. But I persisted and redirected, if you will. Thought of some different ideas, found some different avenues for funding, which is critical. So instead of doing what my initial project was, I found an offshoot, applied for a grant from the Defense Health Agency. We got that funded for something called the non-contact ultrasound, which is an advanced imaging device that may be applicable in the battlefield. But that, as you say, has given us a lot of traction and a lot of momentum. From that, we've developed a lot of new ideas, Gil and I and Stephen. And we're currently applying for a couple more grants with a burn research project with the DoD. We have an upcoming DHA SBIR due in a few weeks' time. So it's one of these things where we hope begets success. You get a little momentum, you realize how to get things done, you learn the process, and then you can go from there. Yeah, it's not easy. It was frustrating at first, and because most of us, or all of us in MDC, the partners have other jobs. It can be time consuming, and we don't have a
Right.
lot of free time, and it's tempting just to give up on it. But I really believe in the mission of MDC.
Hmm.
I believe in taking um, clinically applicable projects and bringing them to the commercial space.
Hmm.
So that's why I've persisted in this endeavor.
Wonderful. And I've seen you've, over the years, you've become more and more involved with what MDC is doing. So have you been, and then also now as one of the managing directors of our new MDC-Verte Impact Fund. So have you been learning a lot of these new business concepts?
I've learned it on my own, and I've learned it from MDC personnel. Gil
Hmm.
and Deborah have taught me a lot.
Yeah.
Um, you have to, I mean, I've just like all adult learners, you have to take the initiative to learn something on your own. I've taken an interest in it. I
Hmm.
know very, very little, but I have a foundation now in the business sense that I can build on.
Yeah.
Um, for the fund, my role is I see it mainly as a medical advisor to the fund. Deborah and Len really do all the hard work in the
Hmm.
fund. And I'm a bit of I consider myself the liaison between MDC and the fund. So
Yeah.
they know all the nuts and bolts about the fund. I provide some updates on the MDC companies. So I give them all the credit on the fund.
Wonderful. Thank you. So I'd like to know, what are your near-term goals and long-term visions as a physician entrepreneur?
Near-term goals is to continue the funding train, get another thing funded, one of these new ideas we have.
Hmm.
Uh, we have a phase one SBIR underway. Um, the next tangible goal for that is, of course, to get the next phase funded. That would be really wonderful and
Yeah.
give me a huge boost. So that's a tangible goal. Get one of these other things funded. That will take us, I think, if we get something else funded, to the stage where uh, we would be in a good place to accept some outside investment. That way, we have some products
Hmm.
that have uh, gone beyond just the napkin stage, a real viable prototype. We have a
Right.
market that, let's say the DoD, a real target audience, target market. So that would be the point where we could accept some outside funding.
Wonderful. And I think as an entrepreneur, we don't always have someone telling us what we need to be doing or how we need to be spending our day. And so you mentioned earlier on that you changed directions, had some disappointments early on. So how did you decide when to stick with a path or when to change directions or just jump into something new?
That's hard because it's tempting to stick with the thing that you first started with because that's
Right.
something you know and you're passionate about. But Gil has told me 1,000 times that if one thing doesn't work, you just have to move on to the next thing. That's how
Mhm.
business works in his mind.
Yeah.
And so project one, number one didn't work, but
Mhm.
probably my project two didn't work, but I'm on to project three and four, and I'm going to stick with it until I can get one of them to work.
I see. Okay. So even when I assume, it can feel sometimes unnatural or uncertain, but you just have to pick something and get going.
Yeah, yeah. If it doesn't work, it's not getting funded.
Hmm.
It doesn't look like there's a market for it. Just pivot to something different. It can be
Yeah.
something related. It can be something completely unrelated. Um, let's see, Jeff Wolf and Stevens project's a great example. They started
Yeah.
out with um, a diagnostic device. They've gone on to the next thing, which could be the big thing, the therapeutic device. So you start with one
Hmm.
thing, and then in their case, they advance it to something else. I've started with the thermal imager. I have another imaging projects. So it's kind of an offshoot from
Yeah,
the original. Yeah.
I see. Great. And how do you stay positive and continue to persevere when, things aren't looking certain?
Oh gosh, I'm a positive person, so
Yeah.
I stay stay that way. But it is tempting to just give up on it.
Right.
Um, that's not my nature. I don't think you can
Mhm.
be successful in this business if you're going to give up after one or two failures. You
Right,
really have
right.
to be persistent, and if you believe in it, you ultimately will be successful. It may take a lot more time than you thought, a lot
Hmm.
more energy than you thought, but you can be successful.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't really have a choice but to to move forward in some direction. So
Right?
I'm curious, how do you balance, running a company and doing all these other things with everything else in your life?
Well, I have a lot of help with the company aspect,
Hmm.
of course. Gil is a huge help to me. And he and I write the grants together, and
Yeah.
I talk to him almost every day. And on the weekends, I talk to him for an hour or two. And it's really, it's therapeutic and educational. And he's like a psychiatrist and a businessman and an engineer all
Hmm.
mixed into one. So I'm very lucky to know him and work with him. Um, on a day-to-day basis, it's hard because
Yeah.
I have a busy surgery practice.
Hmm.
If we have a lot going on in the business, if we're writing grants, and I get up early in the morning and write the grants and go to work, try to squeeze some stuff in during the day if there's a little gap, if I have a meeting or a telephone call to take. And then if I get home and do my family stuff and I have
Hmm.
something else to do, I'll do it at the end of the day. So it's really bookended before and after my regular workday. I do some on the
Yeah.
weekend. Clinical, of course, always comes first for
Hmm.
surgeons and for other physicians for that matter. So there are times when we have to forget about the business stuff for days or weeks, but I always come back to it.
Yeah. So what are the best and worst things that have happened to you as an entrepreneur?
Um, the best thing recently was getting that grant funded. That was
Yeah.
ASBR. That was really great. Made
Yes.
me feel. The worst thing was back to project number one. We got an
Mhm.
MII grant for that initially, and
Yeah.
then as we dug into it, we found that someone else had a very similar patent. So that was
Yeah.
demoralizing. Um, but Gil convinced me to go up, and we talked to the people who had the patent, and they're wonderful people near Portsmouth, Maine, or Portland,
Mhm.
Maine. I'm sorry, and met them, have a great new contact for biomedical imaging. So
Mhm.
uh, all was not for naught in that one. It's really
Yeah.
kind of took a negative, made it into a positive, learned that was my first failure, but
Mhm.
I learned that just have to persist.
Yes, definitely. So I have a couple of last questions. So one is, what keeps you up at night? And two, what makes you feel inspired?
It's the clinical stuff that keeps me up at night.
Yeah.
It's not yeah, the life and death stuff that keeps me up at night.
Yeah.
Uh, what inspires me? My wife is a real inspiration to me. She is a very talented interventional radiologist with
Mhm.
lots of grant funding and huge ideas
Mhm.
and wildly successful. So she inspires me. I'm trying to keep up with her,
Yeah.
um, and I kind of want to make her proud, make my family
Mhm.
proud. So those are the things that inspire me. And Gil's really inspired me.
Mhm.
Um, I want to make him proud as well because he's put in a
Yeah.
lot of time and effort into me,
Mhm.
um, and I think we can get somewhere.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do it
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Dr. Pearl.
for sure.
Thank you.
Sure.